welcome everyone. We're back here with another episode of Where Have You Been Lately? Here at the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles, we like to hang out in the 1938 Reading Diner when we talk about where we've been lately. And this episode, it is DanO's turn to enlighten us about a place that he has recently visited. What you got?
What you got?
Yeah. Where have you been?
Where have I been recently?
Lately.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Well, it all started out a long time ago.
And a 3,000 watt.
I was reading a book at home a few months ago, and it was entitled Magic Motors 1930. And it's written by a gentleman called Brooks Brierly, who our museum has had some connection with and such. And he was writing this, and it was about kind of like luxury and classic cars from around 1930. In it was a picture, and I'll read you the caption of the picture, and that started this whole thing. The careful architectural style of the DuPont factory in Moore, Pennsylvania, near the Delaware border, reflected the image of the car. It remains intact today, down to the trademarks carved into the corner peaks of the building. This photograph was taken in 1925. DuPonts of that year had yet to blossom into their high-style heyday. Okay? So, I go on, and you're looking at the picture, the same picture I got in the book. And I'm going to pause right here and say, actually, I got a copy of that picture through the Higley Museum down in Wilmington, Delaware. And thanks to them, you're looking at that. And it's a really neat picture. And you're looking at picture number 2, is look how it looked in late November of last year. I went down there. The factory is still there. And it's really neat, you know. It's because it's there, and you think of what was going on there and such. But to find it, that's the adventure. And it's like, okay, it's in Moore, Pennsylvania. It's somewhere, you know, DuPont was in Wilmington.
Yeah.
The caption in the book said, near the Delaware border. So I'm thinking, okay, how difficult can that be? You know, it's probably between the border and Philadelphia, somewhere along there. Except there's no Moore, Pennsylvania anywhere.
I've never heard of Moore, Pennsylvania.
Nobody's heard of Moore, Pennsylvania. I think, where in the world is Moore, Pennsylvania? And so I contacted Brooks, and I says, this is great. I want to go see it. Where's Brooks at? He goes, I don't know. So he gave me an email address of a guy who's like an expert in DuPont automobiles. And he emailed me, and he gave me the directions. He didn't give me the address. He gave me the directions. Like,
ooh, that's even better, isn't it?
Yeah, you go on, you know, Interstate 95. So I knew I was kind of in the right area there. And he mentioned the Wood exit and that. And so I go on Google Maps, good old Google Maps.
Oh, yeah.
And boom, there it is. And you go on the street level, and I'm looking at the same picture or the same building that's in the book.
Cool.
And, you know, and I'm looking at, as Brooks mentioned here, the trademarks carved in the corner peaks. You know, I'm seeing everything. There it is. And, you know, you can go kind of up and down the street, and it's on the corner. And the little side street, it's just almost like a little alley. But you still had access, and I could go up that and look into the back of the building, the whole deal.
Wow.
So I figured, okay, I have to go down there. So I end up, there's a volunteer, Dave, from the museum. He and I took a day. We drove down there in November and found this place, and it's at the corner of 13th and Pennsylvania Avenues in Prospect Park. That's the thing. It's Prospect Park, which is right near the airport. It's south of the airport a little bit. And more. And well, when we got there, we kind of roamed around, and in the back of this building, there's a lot of small businesses like repair shops, and storage business, and everything. And you know, there's a couple no trespassing signs.
There you are, trespassing.
Well, we're going anyway. at least I was. So anyway, we went in one of the businesses and went into the office, and it was a car repair business, and the guy's name is Dave, Empire Auto Service. So Dave, if you're watching, hey, thanks for being a good host there. And he knew the history of the building.
Oh, cool.
And he was thinking the building he was in, which was a separate building, it was just a small building. The brickwork was pretty old looking. He says he thinks that might have been part, and I agreed with him. I said, yeah, it looks that. And we went down and we were talking to him. And I guess before we even walked into his place, we walked down along the back of the factory building, and there was garage doors open, and we're standing at one of the garage doors, and it had like a gate across. A guy comes over, hey, can I help you? And so we told him he said, well, it's just a warehouse, and they have it's a warehouse for bubble wrap.
Well, I guess you got to keep it somewhere.
Yeah, and you could see inside, and there was nothing. Just big room.
Think of all the popping you could do in there.
Oh yeah. So anyway, and that was that. But anyway, back to Dave's Empire Auto Service. Went in there, and he's an old car person. He had a car.
Good.
He was working on the back. We could see the front end of it, and he was working on. And he had other pictures hanging up in his little lobby area. And one of the cool things, he had a Coca-Cola sign that was about 4 feet high, maybe 6 foot wide, porcelain.
Whoa!
And I said, wow, yeah. And I said, that's probably had to pay a lot for that.
Wow.
Same dumb thing, I had to say that. And he pulls a picture out of him when he was a little kid standing next to that sign. He said his dad bought that.
Oh.
And, back in the 60s, 70s, something like that. And that was kind of neat. Anyway, you're going to look at a couple more pictures there and show some building detail. And one of them, it looks like a cement plaque thing, and that, I guess, is like the coat of arms. And if you look closely at that picture, at the top you can see the DP for DuPont. And the next picture shows at the corner of the building, at the peak, there's it's like a blue sign. And I'm thinking that's like glazed tile work or something. But you see the DP, again for DuPont, is raised. That's the bare concrete. And the sunk part is the blue part. Now that is, I'm trying to think from memory here, that might be like 2 by 2 feet. Now, along the factory building, what you saw in the beginning pictures is a 3-story building there. And to the left is basically a 1-story building. It used to be 2, and they shrunk it down to 1. But there's diamond-shaped plaques that are about that big with the DuPont logo in. And they're about every 50 feet, and they just keep going down the building. And it's like, this is pretty neat.
No expense was spared, I'm sure, with DuPont.
No, it was DuPont. And so that was kind of neat. So that was my trip. So that's where I was at with Dave. And something about DuPont automobiles here. As I mentioned earlier, they're from Wilmington, Delaware, founded by E. Paul DuPont. And the DuPont family, I don't even know why they call it Delaware. It should be called DuPont. Because there's so many, and there's so many different factions. They got DuPont paint, we know of, DuPont explosives and chemicals and that. And they're not all the same company, just different people from, it's really confusing. And I think that family had something to do. Who's the artist down there? Wyeth. I think they had something to do with that family too. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, DuPont Motors was formed before World War I for the manufacture of marine engines. That's for boats, not engines for marine soldiers.
Marine Corps.
Yeah. Okay. That was before World War I. After World War II, with the armistice, they decided to make cars. This is kind of interesting here. The general manager for DuPont was from Biddle, a guy named Arthur Maris.
Oh.
Yeah, Biddle. Chief engineer was from Wright Martin Aircraft, a gentleman called John Pearson. Later on, the head engineer was from Mercer, named Hosley. And you figure, okay, Biddle was out of Philadelphia, Mercer was out of Trenton.
New Jersey, yeah, Trenton.
Yeah, Wright Martin, I don't know where they were from, somewhere. And then the sales manager was a guy named William A. Smith. He was also from Mercer. So they were taking these people close by. And I'm thinking, that was after, so you figure 1918, 1919, Biddle, were they still making cars then?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Mercer was kind of dying down too, so, maybe they were jumping ship.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So 1919, they actually started manufacturing luxury cars in Wilmington. In 1922, they had the final assembly moved to Moore, Pennsylvania. 1925, they moved back to Wilmington. Somewhere in there, they produced 8 models, each with several body styles as well as special models. I mean, they did a lot of custom work back then. 1929, a DuPont ran at Le Mans. Now, I'm not positive of this, but I think that car sits in the Simeon Foundation down in Philly, which is a fabulous car museum.
And not too far away from here, is it? No.
No. Yeah, that's right near the airport, the same airport.
That's very same.
Yeah. Anyway, over their existence, DuPont's special bodies by Merrimack, Springfield, Durham, Waterhouse, engines were made by DuPont, Herschel Spillman, Wisconsin Continental, so you kind of bounced around a lot of things there. And I'm thinking, even with the engines, you might have had people who requested, like, I want a Herschel Spillman engine in my car. I don't want that Wisconsin engine. I don't know. Usually you hear of special cars had special bodies, but I guess they could have had anything you wanted. Any of the vehicle models, they were all made in limited production, so they figure 537 plus or minus DuPonts were made in the whole existence of the company, which would have been 12 years. 1930, DuPont bought Indian Motorcycle Company, which I think is pretty neat. 1932, production ended. 1933, a year later, receiver was appointed. What happened after that, I'm not really sure. Now, I told you earlier, Kendra, that I had 2 So Where Have You Beens. Here's the other
Oh, yes,
one.
you did tell me that. Yeah.
I didn't realize this until this morning. I'm looking this up on the Google Maps again. I don't even know why, but I figured, well, I'll look it up anyway. Dave and I passed the church on the main road between the interstate and 13th Street. You pass a big church, and there's these people out front and stuff. I said, oh, okay, that's nice. It was like a food pantry thing, and there's people line up for it. And I did some research on something that happened in this town with a church, or a minister of a church. I found out it's the same church. I think, well, that's interesting. So what happened in that town? There's a church there. The pastor was called Mark Watkinson, and it was the first particular Baptist church. I've never heard that term
Particular.
used. Yeah.
I have not either. And
And it was in Ridleysville, or Ridleyvilles. Well, I know there's a Ridley Park there. And this DuPont factory, I said more, it's in Prospect Park. And so that's why I was looking it up this morning. Well, where's Ridleyville, Pennsylvania? Did I get something wrong here? But anyway, it's like a section of the town now. Okay, so this Pastor Watkinson of the First Particular Baptist Church, which is now Prospect Hill Baptist Church, he felt that the Civil War was going to leave the country with a bad name. So it was brother fighting brother. And he didn't want that. And as a pastor, you're after, peaceful feelings. In 1861, when, the war, wasn't
Starting,
over.
yeah.
Just started. He wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Treasurer, who was Salmon P. Chase,
Yes. I know that.
suggesting a term to be used on coins, which was God, liberty, law. So Chase, the Secretary of the Treasury, referred the matter to the mint engraver, a guy named James Longacre. And he decided, through committee, of course, that they settled with In God We Trust to be put on all the money. And that started in 1864, first appearing on a 2-cent coin. So that's, and it was exciting because that's the church. I remember that. And so then I go on Google and look at it. And on Google Maps, I guess virtually, figuratively standing in the middle of the street. I'm looking at and there's this big sign on the side of the church about
In God We Trust.
And I was like, oh, okay. But we didn't see that.
Yeah.
We were just kind of looking at everything because, it was kind of
Cool.
neat. So that's it. So in closing, though, one last picture. This is a picture of a 1929 DuPont with a Waterhouse body. And as of, I think, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, that car was for sale. Okay? And when they have prices on cars and stuff, but instead of price it says inquire for price.
That's a bad sign.
It's a lot of money. Okay, now for you viewers out there, we have a scope of interest here. All our vehicles back here, a majority of the vehicles and the vehicles we look for are from either Pennsylvania or the greater Delaware Valley. Okay, this DuPont that you're looking at the picture was made in Wilmington. There are no Pennsylvania-built DuPonts existing. And
It's going to be a question for you.
and I think, Kendra, since you are the executive director of this museum, you can say that Wilmington is officially part of the
greater
Delaware
Valley.
Yeah. So if any viewers have, if you want to make a donation.
Got a DuPont sitting around.
Yeah, or you could buy this one that you're looking at. And it's really nice. I've seen it at a few shows. I think the show that's on the picture is Gettysburg, I think. And nice car, really nice. So anyway, that's pretty neat. That's a lot of neat stuff there.
I'm going to have to Google Street Map this or go visit too.
Yeah. Oh, it's easy to find. You just go down to 95. It's just it's an easy ride down there, actually. So I told you it's 13th in Pennsylvania and Prospect Park,
All right.
Pennsylvania.
So that's
Right by
where.
the railroad tracks.
Right by the.
Yeah.
So that's where you've been.
That's where I've been. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool old factory site. Thank you, everyone, for traveling with us again to another cool spot in Pennsylvania. And tune in next time, and we'll find out where I've been, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time.